congratulations to all of our mover-uppers, especially our 8th graders. This is the first aviator class to start up as JKers. Amazing. And to our amazing faculty members, families, friends, welcome. Before I begin, I must admit that when Katie first called me, I assumed she was looking for other suggestions for speakers today. When I look out among you, I see so many people, including our amazing students, I would welcome any opportunity to listen to. I'm thinking especially of the capstone projects of our amazing 8th graders, topics ranging from the life of the notorious RBG, an analysis of war in the United States, survey of national parks. Any one of these topics would make a platform for an awesome graduation speech next year. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm a very lucky mom to Caiaphas, almost a 2nd grader and also a Raptors fan, but we still love him. Evan, almost a kindergartner, also tragically a Raptors fan. And our youngest guy, Hannafin, who's still a twinkle in the AVS eye of the future, but tragically, yes, Team Raptors as well. And before the playoffs as well. I also co-founded and now run a startup in the life sciences. So I spend my days working with remarkable scientists, patients, other experts who make and receive life-changing personalized therapies. In my work life, unfortunately, I don't get an opportunity to spend a lot of time with young people like yourselves, except for when the patients we serve are kids. I want to tell you a short story about one such young patient, a medical pioneer who is a source of inspiration to me every day, as I hope she will be for all of you. This is the story of Emily Whitehead, the first patient ever in history to be cured of a terminal cancer by a personalized therapy called a CAR-T therapy. CAR-T therapies miraculously train and supercharge a patient's own immune system to fight disease. And the first CAR-T patient ever, Emily, she's personally responsible for kicking off the clinical journey of one of the most exciting eras in medical history. But just 1 week ago exactly today, Emily was sitting exactly where you 8th graders are right now. She was ready to graduate middle school with her class in her hometown of Pennsylvania, excited and more than a little nervous about what's coming next, anticipating a special celebratory dinner with her family at her favorite restaurant that evening, Nino's, an Italian joint, wondering whether her dog Ryder, an obsessive if mostly sweet Pomapoo, will survive while she's away at NASA Space Academy this summer in Alabama. Such important life milestones like graduation also serve to remind Emily of how lucky she is to be alive. Emily was diagnosed with leukemia that didn't respond well to standard treatments. She and her family had to make a heart-wrenching decision about whether to enter into a highly risky clinical trial as their very last option. There were big potential risks and trade-offs. The CAR-T treatment could be torturous, still ultimately prove effective, and Emily had already suffered extensively. Many other young patients and their families had understandably declined to enter the same clinical trial because they felt the risks were too great. But in the end, Emily and her family decided they were willing to risk paying the ultimate price in search of answers for herself and for other patients. Today, Emily is moving on to high school, like all of you, and she's cancer-free, and she's an outspoken advocate around the world for patient access to personalized therapies. Her courage and the profound risks she took have helped bring forward successful CAR-T therapies for thousands of other young patients and counting. That courage to take risks, especially risks that invoke learning, have a moral compass, and bring a potential benefit to others, is a key component of the AVS Foundation, along with the partner concepts of creativity and collaboration. The very fact that AVS even exists and is thriving today was born out of a spirit of communal and creative risk-taking And that spirit is carried forth in each of you. Amazing students, faculty members who give life to the AVS experiment every single day. But what is encouraged and even made safe in the colorful, bustling halls and warm, energetic classrooms of our wonderful lower school and middle school campuses isn't always true in the outside world. In fact, I don't know about all of you, but I think the risk profile of the external world is only growing. From our climate on life support to unrelenting nuclear proliferation, we are witnessing assaults on human immigration and difference, and the erosion of our basic levels of decency when we interact as human beings in person or online. Even emojis, which started out as pretty adorable, are now increasingly aggressive. What's that about? This riskier world of ours requires all of us in the growing aviator family to step up our risk-taking in response, big and small. 3 major benefits to risk-taking. 1, you will undoubtedly understand yourself and your role in the world better. 2, you will absolutely know what it means to feel truly alive. And 3, you will inevitably fail. I grew up among big Winston Churchill fans, and he famously said, "Success is stumbling from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm." I learned late yesterday that this quote is also a favorite slogan of our 8th graders. What serendipity, Winston's happy wherever he is, looking down on this graduation ceremony. AVS teaches us that failure by definition represents accelerated learning potential. How cool is that? Every day at our school, there's reinforcement that it's okay to be messy in your pursuit of learning, even wrong, as long as you are in pursuit of progress. But despite ready access to Winston Churchill wisdom, I myself was sometimes paralyzed by fear of failure when I was your age. I sadly never had the personal confidence to study science seriously, for example, even though I was always deeply curious about it in school. Lack of role models, particularly women in science, was one major reason. Fast forward to when I was in graduate school at Stanford studying business, frustrated I'd made the wrong academic decisions. I impulsively knocked on a Nobel laureate's lab door one day to see if he would help me learn about stem cell research. Did he hoot and holler at me or roll his eyes like I feared? No. He actually invited me in to shadow him at his bench, and we went on to form an unexpected partnership that became the basis for a hugely successful political campaign that raised $3 billion for stem cell research here in California. That same political campaign was the topic of much discussion among my academic mentors, who felt I should get a real job and pay down my student loans, which were immense, upon graduation instead of pursuing a moonshot political project in an area of science that most of the public thought was science fiction anyway. "Amy, you're not even a scientist yourself," they cried, questioning my credibility. "When this thing crashes and burns, how will you explain this weird gap in your career?" But by then I was hooked. I felt real passion, and I can honestly say I was not afraid of failure. While I'd missed an opportunity to be a scientist myself, I'd found a different path to ensure that the scientists I admired were well supported, their work protected, and that was somehow enough for me. I felt alive in a new way, and I found a calling worth any risk of failure, where my risk-taking could directly benefit others. My young friend, Emily Whitehead, faced much higher stakes in failure, of course, and she achieved far greater impact. Her profound example helps me navigate risks and failures every day, big and small. I hope Emily's story and my own modest example also inspire each of you as you stare down risk to pursue your own callings. A final special wish for our departing 8th graders. You're now expert aviators at being in the driver's seat of your studies, pursuing your own personal development, and yes, even which risks you're willing to take. Take those risks now on an even broader canvas and have fun with it all. Relish even the scary moments and especially the failures. Make every risk count. Draw from the myriad of strengths you've been lucky enough to build here at AVS. Tinker faster, tinker bolder. We are so very, very excited for you. Congratulations again.